Hey everyone, welcome back to TK's Tech Talk. As some of you may already have seen, yesterday I bought an iPhone 12 Pro, and one of the questions I have, and I'm sure many of you have, is what charger to buy for your iPhone 12 Pro or iPhone 12. So the biggest problem we have at the moment is that Apple have decided to give us a USB-C to Lightning cable, and of course if you have a much older iPhone, you'll just have a standard power brick which has a USB-A port instead of a USB-C port. Now you can use your old charger, as I have already tested with an iPhone 8 charger, to charge your iPhone 12 Pro, but the problem that you're going to have is that if it's the first version of the iPhone chargers, you're going to get something like 5 watts charging. So it will still charge, but it will just be very slow. So what do we do to buy a fast charger for our iPhone? Now, the first thing is that if you have an iPhone 11 Pro or something like that with a USB-C charger, you'll notice that it charges at 18 watts. The iPhone 12 Pro for fast charging charges at 20 watts. Now, if you plug in your USB-C cable from your iPhone 12 Pro box into your power brick from your iPhone 11 Pro, it will not charge at 18 watts. This is an important fact to remember. What will happen is it will default down to something like 15 watts or 10 watts or 5 watts. I don't really know what the rating is. I haven't been able to measure it because I don't have an iPhone 11 Pro charger, but I'm going to try and explain a little bit about how these chargers work, and I'm going to show you information directly from Apple's website about the standard chargers and the fast charger that you can get for your iPhone 12 Pro. So I've got a few tabs already open in my browser here, and I'm going to give the links in my description. And the first one is about Apple USB power adapters. So this is primarily looking at all of the adapters that came before the 20-watt fast charger for some iPads, I believe, and also for the iPhone 12 Pro or the iPhone 12. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to see is we see the 5-watt USB power adapter. This is the most basic version of the Apple power adapter, and it can charge your phone at 5 watts. Where does this 5 watts come from? So if you see this picture here of the charger, if we zoom in a little bit, you will see right here, it says output 5 volts, 1 amp. So 5 times 1, 5 volts times 1 amp is 5 watts. That's how we get to 5 watts, right? So that's the first thing we need to learn. The next thing is the 10-watt power adapter. So here we have 5.1 volts and 2.1 amps. It's a little bit more than 10, but obviously the device would only draw 10 watts of power. So this is backwards compatible up to your old devices, and even if they take 5.5 volts 1 amp, it will deliver 5 volts 1 amp. So it's fully backwards compatible. So it even says the compatibility here tells you what can be charged at 10 watts. So it's not limited to these devices, but it's recommended for these devices to charge at 10 watts. Then we come to the 12 watt USB power adapter. So this one this time has a 5.2 volt 2.4 amps. So typically 5 volts 2.4 amps equates to 12 watts, and this is again a USB-A charger. So you plug in your USB-A to Lightning cable, and what can it charge? It can charge all of these devices, but not limited to. Remember, it's not limited to 12 watts, but you would also see that in some countries you'll actually just get the 10-watt power adapter. So if your device can only charge at 10 watts, for example, the iPad Air and iPad mini, you would probably be able to get 5 volts, 2 amps, though I'm not sure that will actually work at 5 volts, 2 amps because of this amp rating. So that's something we need to try and investigate, and we don't have the time and resources to do all of that. So unfortunately, we'll just assume that it can charge 10 watts for the iPad Air up to the iPad 2. Moving on to the first USB-C adapter, which came with some iPad Pros and iPad 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max. So what does this mean? So now you will see two ratings. So you have 5 volts 3 amps, which is 15 watts, and 9 volt 2 amps, which gives the 18 watts. Now this will only deliver 9 volt 2 amps on devices that can actually support 9 volt 2 amps or 18 watts. So what are those devices? iPhone 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max, iPad Pro 12.9 inch, third and fourth generation, and iPad Pro 11 inch, second generation and first generation. So it comes in the box of these. That doesn't mean that it can't charge other devices. Okay, so this is the problem now. If you have an iPhone 11 Pro, for example, you can charge it at 18 watts, which is fine. because it delivers 9 volts and 2 amps, or 5 volts and 3 amps, which is 15 watts. So any device which supports 5 volts and 3 amps, that can be any device, by the way, an Android phone, an Android tablet, an iPad, whatever it is, it will charge at 15 watts. And if you have a device that supports 9 volt 2 amps, and again, you do get many Android phones that have been using this power delivery technology or USB-C power technology for a while now, and they can charge at 18 watts even with this charger, because this is a standard voltage and ampere rating. So now we move on to the 20 watt USB-C power adapter. Now this comes with the iPad 8th generation, but does not come with your iPhone 12 or 12 Pro. Now here's where the problem starts. So it still has the 5 volt 3 amp rating, but then you have the 9 volt 2.22 amp rating. And this is where the issue lies. So if you have a 9 volt 2 amp adapter, it will not charge your iPhone 12 Pro at 18 watts. It will probably charge at 15 watts. At least I'm hoping it will. And that is more than enough if you're using this charger, for example. So I believe that it will support 15 watts, and I'm really hoping it does. I haven't been able to test it, like I said, but this is going down to the basics of charging your phones or any devices you may have that has USB-C power or USB-A power, and you can get, depending on the rating on the charger, you can get some information here of what wattage you can expect. So to get the most out of your iPhone 12 Pro or iPad 8th generation, you need to get a 9 volt 2.22 amp adapter or a 20 watt USB-C adapter. That does not mean that any 20 watt adapter will charge your iPhone 12 at 20 watts. It has to be rated at 9 volts 2.22 amps. If it's something like 10 volts 2 amps, if that even exists, then it will not charge at 20 watts. It will just default to the next lowest voltage and ampere rating that your phone can handle. So if we scroll up, we have another link here. The Apple 18 watt charger can fast charge your iPhone 8 or later. So let's go to that link. I've already got that tab open. So it's talking about the same things. It's saying that you can get the 18 watt adapter, the 20 watt adapter, 29, 30, 61. These are all the power adapters that are available to buy from Apple. So this is the US website. That's why you see these two prongs on the charger. So again, it's talking about the 20 watt adapter here, and it's got some more information which you can read and tells you what actually supports what wattage, right? So now let's go on to the apple.com website where you can buy a 20 watt USB-C power adapter. Now, what really frustrates me about this is that they're selling it for only $19 and they're talking about saving the planet. Now, let's be fair. It wouldn't have a company like Apple to include a $19 charger free of charge with the current prices in the box, or maybe even add the $20 to the price tag, because whoever's paying this sort of money for an iPhone 12 Pro, for example, is not really going to be bothered about another $20 to make sure that they're able to fast charge their phone out of the box. And because this is a different wattage rating, I don't believe they should have omitted the charger. They really should have included this charger in the box. So in the picture here, you can see the USB-C port. And one thing you will note, compared to other aftermarket chargers, this is definitely a bit bigger than what's available. Before I talk about alternatives, let's just scroll down to the product information, and it doesn't really talk about the volts and the ampere ratings I was talking about. And again, it tells you it's compatible with all these devices, but it doesn't tell you how fast it will charge each device. And that again is really frustrating, and I think that Apple can do a bit better here. I really think they need to tell us, what will my iPhone 8 charge at? You say fast charging, but what do you define as fast charging for the iPhone 8 or the iPhone 11 or the iPhone 12 Pro or the iPad, whatever iPad it may be? It wouldn't hurt to add that information here so that you can decide whether you need to buy the 20 watt charger for your iPhone, or if you can just buy a 12 watt or a 5 watt or an 18 watt or whatever it may be. I mean, I don't really think it's that hard, and I really think that Apple should consider this. So let's go over to Amazon.com. You can obviously go to Amazon in your region to see what the offerings are. And all I've done here is search for 20 watt charger. So I'm going to go through some of the options that you might consider when looking for a 20 watt charger, specifically for the iPhone 12 series, right? So if we scroll down a bit, we've got the Apple 20-watt charger. So if you're looking to stick with Apple products, then by all means go ahead and buy the 20-watt Apple adapter. You can also buy that like we saw on the Apple Store. Then there's another company, a popular company called Anker. If you haven't heard of them before, you can see just by the sheer volume of reviews that it is one of the big manufacturers for aftermarket chargers and power banks and things like that. And by the way, everything I said also applies to power banks. I don't even know if a 20-watt power bank exists yet that would provide the required fast charging capability of the 20 watts with the correct voltage and ampere rating for your iPhone 12 or 12 Pro or whatever iPhone you may have. So here you can see they specifically talk about the iPhone 12. So let's open this up and see if they actually talk about the voltage and ampere. It doesn't look like they do, but we can assume safely that it says it's designed to provide the maximum charge to iPhone 12, right? So Anker Nano 20-watt charger does do 9 volts, 2.22 amps, even though it doesn't say it. Okay, so that's what you need to remember. Then scrolling down a bit further, if you require something to charge more than one device at once, and this is going to charge your iPhone as well as another USB-A device, and RAV Power is another good company, which I have also used in the past, as well as Anker, and they do provide good chargers, and this will give you a total of 30 watts simultaneously. So what does that mean? So what that means is that you'll be able to charge your iPhone 12 at 20 watts with power delivery, right? And they say PD 3.0 because that's the current power delivery standard for most devices. And again, the voltage and ampere ratings vary across all types of power delivery devices. That's why you'll see something like the Note 10 Plus, for example, can charge at 45 watts, but you have to buy Samsung's charger, which does some strange voltage and ampere rating to get to 45 watts rather than the more standard 15 volts 3 amps, as far as I remember, from power delivery, which allows you to have 45 watts. So it doesn't mean a 45 watt power delivery charger will charge your Note 10 Plus at 45 watts. It just won't happen. It'll probably max out at 27 watts or 18 watts or something like that. And then the USB-A port here will allow you to have 5 volts 2 amps as a maximum, which will charge any other device at 10 watts simultaneously with your iPhone charging at 20 watts. So that can be handy if you want to charge more than one device at a time. And then my last recommendation for now is the AU key 20 watt USB-C charger. And this one, I believe, they've written iPhone 11, but assuming that's correct, this should also provide the power for your iPhone 12 Pro. It doesn't actually say that. Oh, my mistake, guys. But anyway, you get the idea of what I'm talking about. If we just look at something similar, at the top there was another one, I believe, by another company which has few ratings. But just to give you an idea, again, this one talks about the USB-C PD 3.0 with 20 watts to charge your iPhone 12. So I would recommend sticking to the other brands I discussed. Try to use AU Key, try to use Anker or RAV Power. So I hope this video helps you a little bit. I'll leave some links in my description for all of the stuff that I've talked about and also for the chargers that I've discussed. And here's another one here, Power Arc, for example. And you can buy any of these adapters to safely charge your iPhone 12 at 20 watts. And obviously, if you buy one of these aftermarket chargers, you will get something that's a bit smaller than the current Apple offering. Feel free to subscribe and hit the like button if you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.